Hi there, my name is Betsy Herman, and I'm sure I'm not the first person to awkwardly record a video in the in the car. So I have a sleeping baby here and a child to pick up at class in a few minutes, and this is my moment. So welcome to my minivan. I wanted to take some time to share a message that I am sharing this fall with a group of women about having hope during this season of, for me, motherhood, and specifically sharing the long road that brought me to this place of being a mom. For many years I dreamed of being a wife and mom. That was my heart's desire, and it didn't come easily. And I realized that for many people, motherhood does not come easily. Some people are struggling to find a spouse, to find someone to have a family with. And statistics vary, I guess, depending on whose resources you're reading, but many people agree that 1 in 6 people, or 1 in 6 couples, experience infertility. 1 in 5 pregnancies ends in miscarriage before 20 weeks gestation, and 1 out of 160 ends in stillbirth, which is after the 20-week mark. And that's a huge amount of people that experience a struggle to become pregnant or a loss. And I have experienced both of those. Again, I dreamed of being a mom. That was what I wanted to do. And we were trying. My husband and I married just before I turned 29. He's 12 years older than me, so he was 40. And for about 7 years, from the time I was 30 until I was 37, we were trying to have a baby. We tried natural remedies, surgical interventions. We treated endometriosis. We took supplements, medications, read all the home remedies and everything suggested on the books and by the books and the internet, and nothing helped. It took us a while before we wanted to pursue a fertility clinic. We just weren't ready to do that. Decisions about fertility treatments are incredibly complex and personal, and they involve so many different things. I've joked that infertility causes you to have to address all these personal issues that you don't bring up at a dinner party, like your ethics, your religion, your politics, your finances, your sex life, your personal relationship. All of these things are so very personal, and we have to think through all of these things when a couple is trying to become pregnant unsuccessfully. You just have to address so many private issues. So all that to say, due to our beliefs and our finances, we were not ready to pursue a fertility clinic. And that has been changing in recent years as health insurance has become more available to cover fertility treatments. So we were, from the time I was 30 until I was 37, trying to have a baby. We considered adoption, as many people do. That was not the right choice for us. And it was hard. I cried my eyes out many times. It was hard seeing friends and family start their families or grow their families. It seemed like everywhere I looked, there were pregnant women, little families, and we were just us. We had each other, thankfully, but we were struggling. And a lot of people walk through infertility alone. I was not able to do that. A lot of people knew that we loved kids and that we wanted to be parents, and I felt like I was just going to blow up at anyone that would ask me the wrong question or trigger me, because I was like a little bomb ready to explode, because I was feeling so much emotion and so much grief about our infertility. However, even though we were experiencing month after month of disappointment, we thought it was God's will for us to have a child. We thought that God had intended for us to be parents, and somehow God continued to give us hope. In 2015, before we ever had a baby, I wrote a book called Embracing Hope During Infertility, and that was my story of having hope. It was a statement of faith, an anthem of faith that, hey, we think that God can do this. He might not, but we think that he can. And it was a faith-filled book that still speaks to people today and encourages people who are struggling and who are waiting. We held on to scriptures like Romans 15:13. May the God of hope fill you with joy and peace as you trust in him, so that you may overflow with hope by the power of the Holy Spirit. Hebrews 10:23 says, let us hold unswervingly to the hope we profess, for he who promised is faithful. And we continued to hold on to hope. Eventually, we went to a fertility specialist, and the doctor assessed my history and said, based on your age and based on your history, you have less than 1% chance of conceiving on your own. And I just tucked that away and thought, okay, this is what he says. The primary options that they had for us were IUI or IVF, and we decided to pursue IUI, intrauterine insemination. We were not wanting to pursue IVF. And a few months later, early in April, I shared my story at a women's Bible study. And it was mostly older women, and one woman cautiously approached me later and said, I think that God has said you're going to have a baby within the next year. And I thought, okay, thank you. I've heard of other people being told such things and not having babies, and I was polite, but I didn't really hold on to that very much. And this has happened to other people. It's happened in the Bible. There's a woman in the Old Testament known as the Shunammite woman, and the short version of her story is that a prophet said to her, you're going to have a baby in a year. And her response was, oh no, don't even tell me this. Like, she had experienced infertility for so long. She was a barren woman, no children. And, oh, why would you say something? Like, it's just such a triggering, hard thing to hear when you want a baby more than anything else, but you've not been able to have a baby. And sure enough, the Shunammite woman had a baby within a year, because God is faithful to his promises. And we always have to be discerning when someone has a word for the Lord, from the Lord for us. And we need to weigh those things and make sure it is from God. So that was in April. Yes, in April. In May, we tried injectable fertility medications and did not get pregnant. Then we tried an IUI in the doctor's office, and we did not get pregnant. And in July, our schedules were not conducive to the IUI, so we continued trying, and God continued to give us hope. Somehow we just had this glimmer. Maybe this will be the month. Maybe this will be the month. Psalm 130 verse 5 says, I wait for the Lord, my soul waits, and in his word I put my hope. Romans 8:24 and 25 says, but hope that is seen is no hope at all. Who hopes for what he already has? But if we hope for what we do not yet have, we wait for it patiently. Psalm 71:14, but I will hope continually, and I will praise you more and more. That spring marked 7 years from the time we had begun trying to have a baby, and I had never seen a positive pregnancy test. However, many months I would take a test to see what the result was. Maybe this would be it. It was always negative. And one July morning, I woke up and decided to take the test, and I needed to order more fertility drugs for the next round. And I grabbed, for some reason I don't know other than God allowed it or prompted it, I picked up a digital pregnancy test instead of the cheap strips that I normally used. And I did the test, and I walked away, and I came back, and it said yes. That was the day that Jesus said, yes, it's time. It's time for you to have a child. And God answered our heart's cry. He answered our desire. He answered our prayer, the prayers that many people had prayed on our behalf. And he said yes. We began asking friends and family to pray with us through that pregnancy. We had some bleeding scares, lots of doctor's appointments, and our precious daughter was born in April of 2018, almost exactly a year after this woman at the Bible study had said, I think you're going to have a baby. God is faithful. He showed up. He's always faithful. And I'll tell you more in part 2, but he's always good. He's always good when he gives you the baby, and he's always good when he doesn't give you the baby. He's always faithful when he gives a baby, and he's always faithful when he doesn't. Proverbs 13:12 says, "Hope deferred makes the heart sick, but a longing fulfilled is a tree of life." This first daughter was a longing fulfilled. We were adjusting to parenthood. I quit my job. We were dealing with the stress of my husband's job. It felt very overwhelming. And yet we continued to try to have another child. We were not opposed to kids coming close together because we were older and it had taken a long time. And so we were ready. And when Rachel was about 20 months old, we were in the process of moving to Hawaii for my husband's job. And around the time of that move, I had another positive pregnancy test. But as I took more tests throughout the week, it showed me that I was likely having a miscarriage, and I did miscarry that same week. The pregnancy test, if you take it one day and then the next day and the next day, the line should get darker every day that you take a new test because the HCG hormones are increasing. When they're not increasing, your lines either don't get darker or they become very faint. So that indicated a potential miscarriage, and sure enough, we had a miscarriage. We were disappointed, and we were just praying and trying to imagine a full, happy life with one child. Each of us has 3 siblings, and so we always imagined having more than one child, and we desired to have a sibling. Then the day after Mother's Day in 2020, we were newly living in Hawaii. The pandemic was a new thing, and I found out I was pregnant. And I want to finish my story. I'm going to have to come back because I have to run an errand, a time-sensitive errand. But I